In the name of Allah, who is the most beneficent and the most merciful. This is me, Engineer Mehtab Hussain, founder and chairman of Smart Entrepreneur Society. Today we have a guest, His Excellency Mr. Adam Mulawarman Tugio. Hello, sir.
Hi.
How are
Good
you?
to see you. Alhamdulillah, fine. I hope you're doing fine, sir.
His Excellency, first of all, please tell us about the brief introduction about your journey, about your experience.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I've been here for 2 years in Pakistan, and I enjoy my work here because Pakistan is such a beautiful place. People are also very friendly toward foreigners, and also especially toward Indonesia, because we are the two biggest Muslim majority countries. So I think, I really, enjoy my posting here, and this is the first experience for me to work in Asia. Most of my time, I spend most of my time in Europe and in the US. So I think this is for me, this creates some things that very different, but I really like it. Well, I think the two countries enjoy demographic dividends. In Pakistan, I guess more than 60% of population is youth. Indonesia is also, although probably we have slightly lower than that in terms of figures. So I think in terms of the entrepreneurship, the same. Much of the Indonesian young generations wants to become young entrepreneurs, and I think what the governments do is to try to facilitate so they can reach the dreams to become a successful entrepreneur. Yeah, I think if we are talking about the environment for promoting entrepreneurship, I think both countries, Indonesia and Pakistan, is doing a lot also in trying to promote that. We have to look at the macro and the micro environment, and I was attracted to one of the systems that we can use to highlight this issue. Now, let me give you an example first.
Yeah.
How this is important for us, for Indonesia, the entrepreneurship for Indonesia. I think nowadays, Indonesia, as I mentioned to you, is also enjoying demographic dividends, but not as big as yours. Probably we have half of this demographic dividend as compared to the globe. The populations of Indonesia is 270. And now we have like 25 to 30% of young techno-savvy people. In Pakistan also, as I mentioned to you, 60%. And I think what needs to be done, what needs to be seen is also that during the COVID last year, we see, I think the younger generations hardly hurt by this COVID, and especially women's, because women who work, they lost the job. Young generations also, many of them lost the job because of the pandemic. And I think the governments in Indonesia, that we realized that we need to build entrepreneurial ecosystems, which include the macro and micro. When we are talking about macro, we have to look at in regulations. We promote also entrepreneurship through regulations, introducing some of regulations. Even the governments of Indonesia also, we make the national action plans to promote the entrepreneurship for young entrepreneurship. And the second element, which is also very important, is funding and finance, because I think they need also support, and funding is very crucial for them to become success in promoting new ways of addressing the challenges that we are facing. Because when we are talking about entrepreneurship, actually, we found there's a lot of fresh idea, a lot of new idea from the youth, from the younger generations, to give a service, better service to the community. Yeah, I think interactions between young entrepreneurs become important, and I think the interaction meanings that two ways interactions, and the embassy, I believe, the embassies in Pakistan embassies in Jakarta, like what we did in Islamabad also, promoting this kind of activities. We link the young entrepreneur of Indonesia and Pakistan. During the pandemic, we organized several or hybrid meetings, allowing them to meet virtually with the counterpart in Indonesia. And I think with the situations of the pandemic, which is now under management, I mean, it's better controlled now. We see it as a new opportunity for both sides, entrepreneur of both sides, to engage and try to establish the connections with their counterpart in Indonesia. And to give you an example, in Indonesia we have like 10 unicorn. Most of the unicorn relate with the e-commerce. This is one of the area where the young generation, Pakistan and Indonesia, they have the expertise, techno-savvy, who probably like you have more than one gadget. You know, I bet you have more than one cell phone, right? So many young generations also in Indonesia, they have more than one gadget, meaning that they have the world in their hand. And in terms of e-commerce, then our job, the government job, is to provide support for them in terms of providing the infrastructures to speed up the connections of the internet, for instance, and also educate them. Digital literacy still divide in the country, so I think this is one of the areas also whereby we can work together. And not to mention, especially Pakistan, because if you look at the web developer works related to web developers, I think Pakistan among several countries who are on the top of that in Southeast Asia. So I think we need to have close connections with Pakistani youth in this regard.
Mr. Yadav, is your government planning any initiative to support young Pakistani entrepreneurs looking into doing business with your country?
Yes, thanks for these questions. I think we've been working very hard to promote cultural bridge between our two countries from educations, because I think when we are talking about entrepreneurships, educations play very important roles. And I think with this, the governments of Indonesia offer quite big numbers of the scholarship for Pakistani students. And business management or the economy is also one of these portfolio, department faculties which we offer the scholarship. And I think a part of that, we also are trying to have some sort of like exchange views, exchange of best practices on how the government can support the young entrepreneur in terms of funding, because this is very important. Nowadays, I remember in 2019 there was a poll conducted by World Economic Forum in 2019, and very interestingly, more than 40% of young populations of Indonesia, they want to become entrepreneur. They don't want to become civil service. They don't want to work into the government services, but instead they want to become instead they want to become entrepreneur. So there's a lot of interest for the people, for the young generations in Indonesia to become more successful by having their own company. And I think with that, then the government set up a target for growth in 2004, like a 4%. And we start with 50 startup in 2021, and we hope that we can multiply it into 10 times into 500 startup in 2000. And we have now 10 unicorn, And some of the unicorns actually quite similar with the Pakistan. So that's why I think this is very important. We have to facilitate the exchange note or the exchange of best practices. In Indonesia, one of the unicorn, which is very famous, is Gojek. Gojek, in Pakistan you have Bikea, right? Yeah. Bikea is quite similar, like a Bikea. We have a Gojek whereby you can order everything. Now, initially, from like the Amazon, order some, stuff like
any electronic items, any
electronic. But nowadays, what they come up with very interesting idea. You can order also, for instance, if you want to someone's to like a masseur. If you get tired at home and you don't want to go outside, you can just call, have someone to come to give a massage to you. Even if you want to have a special treatment, nail and how do you call it?
These all services are included in under the one roof.
Yeah, under the one roof. So you only have one applications to order everything from A to Z.
Sounds good.
So it is not only traded like the Amazon, but also beyond that, services also. So I think this is one of the ideas which now becoming more popular, because nowadays we learn that Gojek also have a presence in many countries in Southeast Asia.
Techpreneur.
Techpreneur, yeah. The techpreneurs, I don't know whether Bikea also offer this kind of services, but I think they are very creative, because actually the entrepreneurships at this times of time now, these times with the e-commerce things, actually is providing conveniences for the customer.
Solution of the problem.
Precisely.
The entrepreneur, basically the main entrepreneur, to give the solution of any public problem.
Precisely. Solutions to the public problem with more conveniences.
More convenience, yeah.
So I think this is the key, and you can be a good entrepreneur if you can. It's like providing a service to bridge the customers and producer. This is the entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What kind of the service that you can serve both ways, to the customers and to the producer. If you can manage to do that, and then you can establish Bikea, you can establish Amazon, you can establish GoCart. So now we identify as like 10 unicorn in Indonesia, but interestingly, most of them are based on the e-commerce, meaning that you cannot avoid the e-commerce. And in this regard, Pakistani in Indonesia, we enjoy demographic dividends with a techno-savvy millennial who see the world is in their hand.
If you would like to publish his story in our magazine as well, just like the founder of the idea, so you can share me connect me with the person.
Sure. More than happy to connect you with that, because I think this is the process of learning.
Yeah, because this is a motivation for the young entrepreneurs about their story, how they become the idea, create the idea, and how they create the idea from 0 to 1.
Yeah, and
implement them. Main thing is the implementation.
You're right.
Just not creating the ideas, thinking the idea. That's main thing is the implementation.
Sure. You mentioned one of the important elements on how to make the climate, conducive climate for this enabling environment for this entrepreneurship. There is a lot of talking about, there is a lot of discussions about the prerequisites to build like a Silicon Valleys in one of the particular. There was the approach that many countries now using it in trying to creating enabling environments. But other than that, you can also build like a smart city in addition to the Silicon Valley. And go local, because go local, you take into account the potentials of the local, the potentials of the young generations on those particular ideas. This province is probably different from, the potential, the talent may be different from, other provinces. Like, I don't know, in Punjab provinces, probably young younger generations might have different talent from those of the Sindh province or Balochistan province. But I think the important thing to a built environment and creating network among them so they can learn each other using once again, the internet. And in this regard, it is the obligations and also the job of the governments to facilitate them by building stronger connectivity. Building the infrastructure is very important. Not only the infrastructures, the physical infrastructures, but also non-physical infrastructures like the internet connections.
Yeah. Mr. Adam, what is your message to Pakistani entrepreneurs? How should they step in a world in the midst of challenges and fewer opportunities?
I think throughout the discussions we mentioned about the importance of innovation. And this is the key for the entrepreneurship innovations. But sometimes people also have probably misrepresentations about innovation, as if you cannot invent something if there is no new element. Yeah. So inventions are always related with new thing.
New thing.
In fact, what we learn in, for instance, you look at the Gojek, you look at Bike, you look at Amazon. It is not a new thing. It is not totally new. It is actually the conventional ways of transactions, but they add new element. So I think with that, the essence is study. Yeah, you can find innovations if you study more. But once again, innovation doesn't mean creating new from scratch. You can add more dimensions to the existing one. Look at the various activities, various transactions, which is actually conventional, and convert it into something that allowing the customers to find easy to connect or to have a transaction. So that's actually the entrepreneurship.
And the last question, what measures do you suggest between your embassy and the government of Pakistan to speed up the visa application of aspiring entrepreneurs that wish to visit your country for business?
Well, thank you very much for the questions. I think your questions are not only applicable for the entrepreneurship, but also to all Pakistani brothers and sisters who wants to travel to Indonesia. I learned in the past 2 years because of the COVID, then we stopped the services, and I think Indonesia is not alone in this regard because many countries also exercising cautious in trying to stop the spreadings of the pandemics. But nowadays Indonesia is open. We offer 2 ways to Pakistani brother and sister who wants to travel to Indonesia, and it differs certainly for 2 different types of visa. One, if you want to go to Indonesia to enjoy your leisure time, you can go through, apply for tourist visa. But if you want to do business, certainly you need to apply business visa. And if you want to apply business visa, the important thing, you have to find your counterpart in Indonesia first, because they will give a support, they will give a recommendation for visa process. And once you get the recommendations, then there is a 2 ways easy path for business young entrepreneur from Pakistan to apply visa. First, they can apply it online. Just Google online, and then Mr. Google will take care of the rest. And the second approach, you go to Dropbox. We have 10 visa Dropbox services who help with the Indonesian embassies to issue visa. So you go to Dropbox office. Once you go there, it takes only 3 days for the visa process to be issued. Subject that all the requirements are fulfilled. So that's the easiest ways to go to Indonesia for business young entrepreneurs to Indonesia.